I woke up after being reborn, but was shocked to find my adopted son openly beating my biological son. However, I didn't step forward to stop him. I just called the police and planned to send him to prison. Then I revoked my adopted son's inheritance rights, making my neglected biological son the heir of the company. Because in my previous life, I doted on my adopted son, even going so far as to kick my biological son out of the house, and made the adopted son the heir of the company. But retribution came swiftly. I was locked in a mental hospital by my adopted son. When I tried to escape, I encountered him. I thought I was finally saved, but the adopted son knocked me down with a stun gun. At that moment, I realized how foolish I was. I had harmed my biological son and gave all my love to a completely unrelated adopted son. But it was too late to turn things around. I was about to be tortured to death. But just then, my son suddenly appeared and rescued me in the end. I died in my son's arms, perhaps because I felt unsatisfied. Heaven let me be reborn the day before I announced the adopted son as the heir. Living again, I swore to make the adopted son pay. When I saw my husband and mother-in-law treat the adopted son like their own, and my son standing aside, ignored, the adopted son who had been pampered by the family, now tried to please me for the inheritance. This made me disgusted, so I rolled up my sleeves and pushed him away. Seeing my displeasure, my husband broke the awkwardness and told the adopted son to go to school quickly. Then the adopted son, as usual, threw his backpack onto my son, forcing him to follow him like a slave to school. My son had already gotten used to the cold attitude from the family. He was about to follow when I suddenly stopped him, but then I thought it wasn't time to reveal the truth. So I just reminded my son not to be late for school. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law and husband were happily preparing my birthday party, because tomorrow I was going to announce the adopted son's status as the heir. At that moment, I suddenly arrived at the nanny's workplace, scaring the nanny, who hurriedly hid the clothes. I saw that my son only had a few clothes for the whole year. I felt extremely guilty, so I gave the nanny a card and told her to buy some daily necessities for my son. Soon I bought many high-end clothes for my son. Seeing the change in me, the nanny was happy for my son. I had to take care of something urgently, so I asked the nanny to pass the gifts to my son. But when they came back from school, the pampered, adopted son couldn't believe I bought gifts for my son. Even though the nanny reasoned with him, he slapped her hard, taking advantage of the family's favoritism. He again abused my son. The helpless nanny had no choice but to admit that the gift was for the adopted son. When my son saw the slap mark on the nanny's face, he immediately understood everything. He called the police and wanted the adopted son to pay. When I demanded the gift from the adopted son, he was greatly shocked. Even my husband and mother were confused. In the face of their questioning, I said it was normal for me to buy gifts for my son. Then I forced the adopted son to hand over the gift, or he would face punishment. My husband quickly tried to calm me down, saying not to offend the adopted son for the sake of my son, and that in the end I would need to buy more gifts to win his forgiveness. It would be a losing situation. Just then, the police arrived to take the adopted son away. My husband and mother thought I was joking, but when they really tried to take the